Welcome to FMA Talk Live. I am Dr. Tim, and this is my wonderful host.
PG Taz here. Hey, everyone.
All right, so Sam won the contest. The first one to say hello, PG
Awesome.
Sam. How you doing?
Nice.
All right, lots of things going on, lots of cool stuff. Today's topic is going to be about the pros and cons of going to seminars. We're going to talk about both sides of the equation, participating as well as teaching. Of course, there's always the hosting aspect as well, but there's definitely things that you need to worry about, look at. So everyone knows, I'm working with a new social media company, and we have temporarily deactivated the Datu Tim Hartman fan page. It is all on the Tim Hartman Facebook page, and it says Datu Tim on the secondary thing. So if you go looking for Datu Hartman, we're all putting it all together because, at one time it was fine. So when I first started Facebook, my profile name was Datu Tim Hartman because I used it for business. And then what happened was Facebook asked me to verify my account. So obviously somebody must have been questioning something or whatnot. So I had to give them my driver's license, and I could no longer use the term Datu in my Facebook name. So I had to you use your legal name. So Tim Hartman, or an abbreviation of that.
Right.
So I did that, and then I put Datu Tim underneath. But then I created the Datu Tim Facebook page for all that other stuff. And of course, I got the knuckleheads barking here. Hello, Noah. How you doing? Yep. Good. Okay. Hold on here. I'm gonna mute the microphone for a moment because I'm gonna let somebody in the room.
It's good. Remember, come on, definitely say who you are or where you're from, and you should also, if you haven't done it already on Facebook, right, give the permission so that we'll have access to who you are. Then we'll see who that is.
They're both here.
Okay.
Okay, that's a little better. All right. Oh, she is merciless tonight. Come here, dear. Oh, Brenna's there. So I got both of my fur babies with me. Go get mama. All right, there we go. I'm saved. So, if you missed what I first said, I have deactivated my Datu Tim Hartman Facebook page. I still have my personal account. Everything will be going through there in New York because there's been too much stuff being thrown. And I'm actually thinking about doing the same with our Facebook group. So we have the Facebook group World Modernist Alliance, and we have the Facebook page World Modernist Alliance. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to probably make the group go away. So I'd probably just deactivate that temporarily, see how it goes. Try to just shuffle everything into one thing so there's less streams that we're doing things on. It's easier to maintain stuff. Just like I used to have a Datu Hartman website. And I was like, well, I'll keep the URL, put it on my profile on the org site, and then just go from there. And just one less website that I have to update with the same material that I put everywhere else. So, you, my friend, have been doing some certification courses lately, haven't you?
Yeah, just finished up with GM Carlos Patalinghug up there in Maryland, and did WCAF certification, judging certification.
WCAF judging certification. Wow.
Yep.
Look how involved we get in other parts of the industry.
A lot of fun, a lot of good things, and we actually, ran through a lot of practice rounds and things like that, and got the standards up. It was a good deal.
So listen, I know there's people out there who just do not want anything to do with tournaments. Here's my mind. This is what I've always done in Buffalo, and I want you to think about this. If there was a tournament in Buffalo, karate, taekwondo, fill in the blanks, I know how to judge. I'm proficient to judge in all these different venues. When I have free time, I will go sit in the tournament and I will judge. And people ask me, why would you do that if you're not competing or your students are here? Because when I was coming up and competing, there was people who sat and volunteered for me. So I'm just paying it forward.
Sure.
It is a good thing to do if you're qualified. I think it's a good thing to get involved. Now, Ty's nursing an injury, or he's in a rehab situation. Doesn't plan on doing anything with the tournament, but wants to get involved because another member of our family is doing something. We want to show support.
I have to ask everyone, or I want to ask everyone, who's freezing up. Either you're freezing up or I'm freezing up. I can't tell.
Terrell was there.
I didn't
Right?
see him there. He was at the first week.
Terrell Richardson, was he there?
I only saw him. I didn't see it this time. He was evidently there the first week. Am I freezing or are you freezing? Or everybody online, let us know and we'll fix it. Okay. Datu's freezing.
Yeah, it's cold. It's Buffalo.
There you go. No, your screen, your camera. Weird. Technical difficulties, everyone. Welcome to the modern age. But at least, we all get to be out here and visit every once in a while on these Monday nights. It's been one of those days already. Sorry, guys. Starting off the great day starting off the week on a great, powerful Monday. Hope everyone else had a good weekend. Oh, Eric says greetings from Portland. Noah says it's blurry, but that was, I think, a while ago because I think Datu is fixing some things on his end.
Hey, bud.
All right. Cleaner, more responsive. It's still a little blurry, but so it probably needs to focus on something for you. It's clearing up. There you go. Shake your long flowing locks. Oh, now you're freezing again. Weird.
Hold on here. All right.
Yep, frozen again. At least it's not freezing on you too strange of positions. Assuming everyone has the same freezing point as I do.
See, I can hear you in for the most part.
Okay. Yeah. I can't usually. When you freeze, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm hearing you talk, but
okay. Well, that's no good. 7-8 Adam says hello from Toronto.
Having all sorts of problem with the internet today.
Oh, is it the internet? Okay, you can see your rate.
I'm not looking at it, but let me see here. Can you see me now?
Yeah, you're moving.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those days.
Okay. Just checking mine just for good luck. I'm at like full speed, so.
I'm going to do a couple little things here. Let me see if I can. Do you have an app, or do you just look at it on my speed?
Speedtest.net is what I usually use, but there's a bunch of them. Speedtest.net. I'm showing almost a gig both up and down, which it usually doesn't get that close, so I'm happy with that. Although it's not always the greatest. Anyway, hang in, folks. There, we'll straighten this out, no problem. I'm pretty sure. And again, hope everyone had a good weekend. Anybody? Oh, here we go. Rich. I switched from Instagram to Facebook, and it is the same. Dr. Tim is freezing. And
Can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you. A little fuzzy.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is, well, I'm doing the test right now.
Mm-hmm.
I might hit my modem while we're here. Unfortunately, I am not hardwired in. I'm doing Wi-Fi.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes they get confused every once in a while, and yeah, rebooting sometimes, or rebooting the.
So I got 65 download and 97 upload.
That should be enough to do this.
MPB.
Yeah, you froze again.
Yes. So I will be back.
Okay. All right. All right. So, like I said, I went and did training with WeCAF things. So interesting with them, they did a lot of good stuff. I don't know who else is familiar with WeCAF, but I'll go ahead and share what we did. They do knife, they do staff sparring, but the main thing they got us certified on was the armored live stick, as well as the padded stick with the headgear and hand gear and cup, and then optional other stuff if you want. Two different types of scoring, which is neat. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. The padded would be stop motion, right? So as soon as some judge sees something, bam, the flag goes, and the center judge calls for any other scores that were seen, and then they make the call and they continue on. So it's first blood, if you will, each and every point. And then of course the armored with the live stick is continuous action with a 10-point must, and disarms count as a deduction unless you get 3, then you're out. Oh, and then of course they do the double stick sparring as well. I think we did that live stick. So a lot of fun stuff, lots of good technical rules, and felt like it was a good way to get people prepped. There were even people training that don't even do study with him for that, but they came to support maybe their family member or something like that, and they just wanted to support, as Datu was saying, right, help out with judging so the competitors can do what they're going to do and get judged fairly and have a good time. So that was good. And I'm a big fan of sparring in general. I like all the different kinds. So I'm not saying, I'm not the kind that says, hey, we're going to do point only. We're going to do padded stick. We're going to do only live stick with no armor is good. I think it's all good. We're going to do heavy contact. We're going to light contact. I think it's all good because it gives you a little different sets of things that you're going to settle with and things you're going to allow. And they each teach, the things that are opening that are allowed for you to do, gives you another window into how you move and how you can not get hit and or hit with a little bit of pressure in different ways. So like I said, I'm a big fan of all of that stuff. Somebody asked recently online, it was Paulo, said, hey, what's the benefit of sparring in general? And of course my answer was yes, do it. Right? Somebody else said yes, do it. I just said yes because I was terse. Anyway, anybody else have any good training they did this weekend, or competing, or maybe even any sort of martial arts thing they were doing? You can put it in the notes and I'll see it. I won't be able to pull it up, but instead of hearing me ramble, I can include you guys a little bit. I'm sure Dr. Tim will be back shortly. And then also tell me, this is a new camera. Hopefully it works better. If it doesn't work better, at least it can do things like this. So I can scare you or I can save you. So I'm enjoying that. Plus that way I can move around and I can still be in the right position that I want to be. Dorky gadgets and stuff, right? Gotta like those things. Anybody else who's fallen to? I have postponed my spring thing because between work stress and a bunch of other things, as well as rehabbing and all those things with work, I didn't get on the ball fast enough, so I figured let's not do it half-assed. Let's do it right. And we'll do it later in the year. And so keep an eye out for that, and also get the word out, because that'll be the 10th annual. And I wanted to do it real well. So it was a bad timing, right? A little extra pressure on top of the stress and the recovery. So anyway, postponing it until we do a better job. In the meantime, I can support everybody else, and we'll hopefully have a good 10th in the fall-ish, I think, sometime. Looking for good opportunities right now. So if you're in the area or want to come out, you're more than welcome. Everybody doing any sort of FMA or FMA interest is welcome, because it's a very low key, very friendly, open gathering to all sorts of different folks and styles. And I think I'm actually very proud of what everybody does when they come forward and share. So looking forward to that when I get back on track. And let's see, Dr. Tim might be back. What do we think? Who's taking bets? I'm just seeing the swirling comment. There we go. And it looks a little clearer too.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, so what is this thing I'm on?
Well, hang on there, and Dr. Tim will tell you all about it.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, technical difficulty. Hello, everybody.
Looks a lot better. I think you're good.
I'm doing Wi-Fi. I'm hoping in the future that I'll have a line into this office, so then I won't have to worry about this nonsense, unless the internet's out in the area. So
right.
So today's topic is seminars, the pros and cons, things we got to worry about. So obviously we're going to talk from our experience. Modern Ernice, the art within your art. Basically, that means you're cross-training. So when you don't have answers, you fill in the blanks from other material. So let's talk about some of the pros. Why you want to attend a seminar. That sounds a good one, right?
Sure. Yeah.
PG Ty, give me one. What's good about going to a seminar?
Often learning new stuff or a different take on your original stuff. Love it.
A learning advanced or different material. So I think it is awesome. I will go into seminars of topics that I don't know. I've attended on multiple occasions Dose Para seminars, which was enlightening because I got to see some of our material there, which just goes to show modern. Remy learned from Balintwak, and Balintwak came from Dose Paras. So it puts things in context. Other arts that have nothing to do with this, doing some things very similar, if not the exact same way. Actually, so I signed up with a new social media company, and we're doing some stuff. It's I'm being controversial. I was told to be controversial. Okay.
They knew who they were talking to. They knew who they were talking to, right?
Yeah, I got to say why Filipino martial arts is better than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I got to talk about why Filipino martial arts is better than Krav Maga. Although I did say, if it's in Israel, they have guns, so I think they would just shoot me before I had a chance to do anything. But there's some topics I talked about. I even talked about the bow staff comment, which is my favorite. But we'll see how this all goes. Stuff starts dropping. But Knucklehead's with me. So, but in prep for this, I started looking a lot of videos from the Philippines and everyone doing the angles of attack and the forms. And it's crazy on how many people do the modern Ernice angles of attack and our forms. Whether they're doing our style or not, they're using our forms. Now, remember, Professor Prasis taught in school systems. So, of course, they're doing our angles of attack and our forms.
Sure.
And people who are teaching may have come from those programs and started their own systems. So, of course, modern Ernice has this long reach. Hey, brother Carl.
Hey, Carl, how you doing? See you soon.
Okay, so got to do something there. Okay, now, so in So sometimes it's about seeing how far certain techniques for me have gone. But let me deal with the knucklehead.
The knuckleheads again. So you got an internet or dogs? That's what you got. Yep. So another one for me, and maybe you guys all agree with this. I really enjoy, even if it's on the material that you're used to. One, you can help out, but the one I was getting to is for real just now is the idea of working with other people. Right. The more you work with different people, the more you understand the different ways people move, even if it's during drills or learning technique. More touching hands, if you will, touching sticks, crossing sticks, I think is a good thing. It's more experience because we're not out there battling every day, but we can get some sort of physical feedback, and you can't beat that. So more exposure is another good one for me. I jumped ahead.
No, I heard it. And here's the thing with that. I talk about this, and I actually quoted Remy, and people got, unfortunately, when it's the written word, people can choose to interpret things differently than intended. And maybe I could have done a better job of explaining. Remy talked about being the best. You need to have, how can you be the best if you don't have any students? Well, people got in that argument. I'd rather have small students and less students and all this other stuff. And I get what you're saying. But here's the thing. What made Professor Prasis the martial legend that he was, or is that he crossed hands with more people than anyone I know. Mm-hmm. The more people you cross. Okay, so I tell my students, how do we get good at something? Practice. Mm-hmm. How do you get better? By practicing with more partners, because each partner gives you a different stimuli, give you a different vibe, and you need to be able to adapt. When I first started fencing, it was me and the fencing coach, and we had some of the best matches of the whole hall. But then he finally cleared me and said, you can now work with anybody. And I got owned by everybody because I was so in sync with what he did. It took me a month to dial in the versatility of everything else. So I was like, I shot up. I was like it was like him and I were the top two guys all of a sudden, because I came in as a Filipino martial arts master. I didn't come in as a noob with no training. So within a month, he and I are rocking back and forth because I figured out how to apply my game to his rules. And then I got to deal with a whole bunch of other people that I'd never seen before. And now all of a sudden I got dialed back in, and it just took me a little while to adapt. And, so ups and downs as I got new stimuli. And a lot of times it doesn't mean the person that you're with is better than you. They just may be moving in a way that you don't know how to adapt to.
Yep. Which is great. You need that. Otherwise you're not going to get better.
Yeah. Henpecked by a freaking dog. At least I wish I should have had hens.
There you go. Well, there's a corollary to that too, right? And it's not only crossing hands. Chances are, if you're doing seminars, it's in addition to whatever you're else doing. So even crossing hands with other people, the other aspects of that, just more training, right? More training, more better.
More training. Seeing how what somebody else does affects with what you're doing. So I would do seminars in other styles, not to learn other styles, but maybe new ways of saying the same thing.
Yep. Well, actually reminded me of another one. So you and I have both had this thing where people that are masters in other arts want to come do this, and they may or may not want to learn the art, but they want to play, and they get to not have to be in teacher mode all the time. So it's someplace they can go to have fun, learn some new things, feel some new things. It's really helps them understand their own art, but it also gives them a break. I enjoy that. I love being in student mode. I love it a lot. So when people come to me and do that, I'm more power to them, because then I get to work out with a really advanced person in their own art, and we both come out ahead. It's great.
I've wrestled all my life to one level or another. I just got my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu blue belt.
Nice.
Very good. But in all honesty, it's stand-up jiu-jitsu done on a horizontal plane. I mean, think about it. All the techniques that you do. What's a heel hook? That's a backwards throw. What's a knee bar? An arm bar. Triangle choke. Oh, that's your rear naked, or your there's really no difference. Just how you're doing it. Are you doing it to the upper body, the lower body? Are you using your lower body versus your upper body? But there's only so many ways. You look at the hands. Okay, the hands could be the feet. This is your big toe. This is your baby toe. Here's your ankle. Okay. This is my knee. Okay, so if I do a knee bar, it's like doing an arm bar, and vice versa. So, it depends on how you want to look at things. And a lot of times it's just that fresh new look at things.
Yep.
I'm like, I never thought of applying this to the lower body,
Right.
or vice versa. And like you said, I did the Kuntao, I did the Sikran. It was nice being a student
Mm-hmm.
that I'm with Maya, with my the business courses. I have an accountability partner that if I don't do my job right, I feel I let him down.
Okay.
He gives me assignments and stuff like that. And it's like, hey, at the end of the day, I want to succeed.
Mhm.
And if someone's teaching me, I want to succeed not only for me, but for them, because I want them not to think that they're wasting their time. There's going to be topics you just don't get,
Right,
I
right.
really can't do this throw. It doesn't work for me. Uh-oh. He showed up.
Hey, Renee.
There we go. Oh, by
Gentleman
the way,
Renee, how you doing?
Remy. There's 3 shots, buddy.
That has to be part of the conversation.
And yeah, Eric, I did see just that I was having too many buddies. And of course, always, and Noah and Rich. There we go.
Yep.
I got rid of,
Magandang umaga, Giamunyo.
Very good. How you doing, sir? We're hoping to see him on the next trip, but he is by Subic Bay.
Oh,
I didn't realize that. I thought last time we saw him in Cavite, but evidently he's located in Subic Bay. So
okay.
maybe the next trip in February he'll happen to be going down our way and we can see him there.
Okay.
Because that's a long trip.
Yep.
Okay, so unfortunately, our art is a victim of its own success. Very much like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it was taught via seminars and training events, training camps. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was more successful because they had the UFC and venues like that, so people got into sport and they really dove in deep because they could see something bigger beyond just the art.
Right. That helped them be able to have the focus to do that deep dive. Yeah.
And 80% of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is doing laundry.
That's not what I heard. I heard people complaining about the smell sometimes, especially with you, Brock. Sorry, Brock.
So let's talk about some of the things that are problems in seminars and maybe how we can address them and make it less of a problem because, so I think first of all, the seminar instructor needs to take some responsibility on stuff.
Yep.
And they need to talk about stuff. So a lot of times when I'm teaching, whether it be a video like when I'm doing my hybrid seminars, I do the physical seminar and I have the virtual attendees as well. And I have to stay in frame. So I can't always do the footwork I want or I will go out of frame.
Right. Now, when you're teaching seminars, you got to tailor it to whatever it is you're trying to cover, right? So which means you can't get all of the details. If you did that, you would not be able to finish. And people that are attending seminars need to know that too. If we were just talking about we love seminars, but you have to realize the expectations is, hey, I'm going to do a seminar with Grandmaster Huzamotzis with, I don't know, some famous art. And now I'm a certified practitioner of said art just from that. You got to watch out because you're not getting all of the details unless you really do that deep dive, and you might need some help with that.
So the seminar instructors need to make a point of saying that, hey, listen, we might be focusing on upper body isolation. We'll do the footwork. Actually, I say that quite a bit when I'm teaching. So I'm not worrying about footwork right now. I want you to get the upper body because sooner or later you may be stuck and you can't move. Right. You got to be able to do your technique. So being in Buffalo, snow, ice, slippery environment all year round, one way or another. So what happens when I can't move? So I start from that position and then I go back and put the footwork in, which actually footwork's a lot harder and easier than people may think it actually is.
Yes. Yep. There he is. Nice.
And every time I get him calm, he growls.
It's because you're talking and not to him. Needs that attention. Yep, all good stuff.
My four-legged child.
So let's see, what other good things, or what other things should people know when they think about attending seminars, getting what they can out of it. I think, like I said, the expectation management, right? If it's a seminar on X or Y or Z art, doesn't matter what it is, say it's a jiu-jitsu art, and they're working on X material, notice that you're going to get some of X material, but you're not going to get the fine details, right? You have to use your eyes and observe more than they are saying, even more than you normally have to do in a class, if you want to get the most out of it, from my perspective. So in class, someone may or may not say a lot of things or break it down, but it's even worse in a seminar setting because there's that time crunch. But it's not only a time crunch, right? Because guess what? You've got to also reach everybody in that's attending, right? And they may not even be trained in the art that you're trying to get them to. So you're going to have to tailor the expectations to the group at hand or to the person you're working at hand if you're doing one-on-one parts. So factor that into your expectations about what you're getting out of it, and be realistic, but keep your eyes open for everything they're not saying and showing, because they're showing it, may not be obvious. Yep.
Professor, using him as the example, or for Renee's sake, Remy.
There you go.
For those who don't know, Renee made a drinking game that every time I say Remy, Renee has to take a shot. So Remy. So he will not be able, if he's playing true to the game, he will not be able to work tomorrow by the time I'm gonna get done saying all this stuff. But okay, good. So we got it. What's your teacher like? All right. So I've talked, okay, Dr. G, Burmese, a bunch of different Filipinos. Okay. Not languages that were as common as other languages. Finding people who speak Japanese and Chinese are much easier. Brazilians, that's Portuguese. Not a lot of people speak Portuguese. It's Spanish. So a lot of things are similar, but not quite the same. So what is this? Todd, is that from the
I don't know, some no-name thing I got somewhere, but it's warm because I got my window open.
Okay, there we go. So you run into those things, and like I said, I was telling people, like, when we learned, there was no Google Speech, there was no Google Translate, there was none of all this other stuff. Make sure you take notes, especially
absolutely.
if you're doing a seminar covering an art you have no experience with it. That's a great one.
Absolutely. Even art you think with those extra details. I have so many notebooks. I know you do. Tons of people do that. I think for me, it gets a gold star for that one. It's a great comment. Do that.
I starred his comment.
There you go. But take the time to do that, because it's really easy to not do that and get caught up.
Unfortunately, it doesn't show up here, but yeah, okay. I started on our side.
Well, I'll give you an extra hug, Brock.
Okay. So, because he's a cuddler.
I am, yes.
They're BJJ. That's my social media thing. I'm going to get in so much trouble. There's going to be. Listen, if you don't like the social media stuff I say, it wasn't my topic.
Wait, you're trying to be controversial.
And yeah, like I would never do that, and engage online. That's what the whole point's for.
There you go.
I
think we do that. We actually bring in people's names when we're doing stuff. I think that folks like that. So yeah.
So now here's the downfall of going to seminars. You're coming from a different art, training a different art. And you might have these delusions that you actually have gotten the material right. Mm-hmm. And I say that is because no matter what seminar I go to, I'm always looking at things from a Filipino mindset. I try to arnicize, I don't know.
Sure.
FMA, everything I do, or relate it to what I'm doing. And that might be good for me to put things together, but it may not be the original context the material was supposed to be done. Mm-hmm. So if I always look at something, so I had I have a friend, Kempo karate friend, Ingmar Johansson in Sweden. He would attend my stuff, and he talks about the rules of movement in the Kempo rules, because Kempo has a lot of rules.
Sure.
And a lot of those rules apply to what we're doing.
Sure.
But there was this one particular conversation we were talking about the sublig, and when you do it, you cast and hit simultaneous, and I do a chamber prior to that, and he said that breaks a rule of movement. I go, no, that breaks a Kempo rule. let me tell you why I do this. And I told him why the technique works. No questions after that. It nailed it. It answered it. Boom. And then he realized that his rules apply to Kempo, and they don't always apply to every other art. Not that they can't,
right?
But it should be, hey, listen, we have a rule of this in Kempo. Does that apply the same way in Arnis, or fill in the blanks? Oh, I see now. I was there when you got your blue belt. So now you're officially a cuddler and are allowed to join the cuddler corner at the seminar. Nice. Actually, now I can talk about the cuddlers, because I was a white belt with 2 stripes. Now I've got the full blue belt. So it gives me a little more time. Yeah. So I can hang out with the cuddlers every now and then. But I have to have a cool gi, though. And right now I've got just my generic gi. I need to have a really, really cool gi.
Nice.
I could buy a cheap judo gi, which would be fine, but I gotta buy one of those gis that are designers that have all the NASCAR style patches on it, so they can charge me $250 to $300.
There you go. To advertise for them.
So this is why, now that I've become a cuddler, I have to join that culture. Remember,
just get a rash guard. It's cheaper.
There we go. Go Newton, go no gi, and I won't have to worry about it.
That's right.
But here's the thing. If you are coming from a karate school or a Kempo school or a Taekwondo school mindset all the time, when you don't have material, you might be filling in the blanks with another system, and those things don't necessarily apply to what you're doing. It may not be bad material. It may work for you in the context that you're applying it to, but that doesn't mean it's right.
Right. Absolutely.
The problem in modern Arnis was that professor used a phrase of the art within your art as a marketing thing, so he could show you how you could dial it in. But he didn't teach it any different. He taught the art. He didn't teach he had his own synthesis. Mm-hmm. He put his own art together. And he consistently taught that synthesis the same way, with some evolution over the years. Mm-hmm. But he didn't teach a jiu-jitsu style around the jiu-jitsu people and kung fu style around he had a very broad band of exposure.
Sure.
He knew a lot about a lot of martial arts, not necessarily saying he did them all, but he knew a lot about them. Mm-hmm. And if you had a question, like, okay, case in point, Buffalo's an Isshinryu karate town. So upper body exercise number 13. See if this looks familiar to you by anything. Shuto low, shuto high, shuto low, shuto high, shuto low, shuto high. Mm-hmm. What does that look like to you, Ty?
Single Sinawali.
And whenever knowing that tidbit of information, when I teach in an Isshinryu school, I will tell people, depending on how you execute this, because there's a couple ways to interpret that. But a lot of people do the shuto low as a backhand, shoot the high forehand, and then come down and do the shuto low, like inward block, downward block, And when I'm around those people, I can get them doing single Sinawali in 30 seconds or less, because they're already doing this. Now I just got to put now. Of course, I got all the rough edges that I got to smooth off. Sure. So they're not doing with the proper footwork. They're not doing with the proper cadence or flow. They're doing the mechanics. And in the art within your art, you say, "Oh, look, there's the art within your art," but they're not doing it the right way.
Right.
They're doing it their way. And then the beauty of what Professor did was he showed you how to enhance your primary system with Filipino martial arts without compromising the integrity of that base system. But that didn't mean you were doing Filipino martial arts. That meant he helped you become a better martial artist by showing you a few tricks.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the better ways you've said that. I really like that that description. I think hopefully that connects with a lot of people, because then it establishes what are the baselines, what are the expectations, and what are really some of the truths are. It might work for you, but it may not be right for the material.
And I get this, and like Kelly Warden's made a comment about that, hey, this doesn't give you license to go willy-nilly and put things in there. No, right. Professor Praces had a martial system. Mm-hmm. and he showed you how you can express yourself, but he still had the same formula. And we did a show about that. We talked about all the different things. What is modern arnis?
Right.
And then, people start saying, well, what about this, that, and the other thing? You go, that's your expression, but that's not Remy's art.
Right.
If I start putting, okay, let me. If I started putting capoeira into this, it would not be Remy's art.
Right.
It's a way to show how I can bridge the gap between the two arts, but it's not doing modern arnis.
But I think this is, for today's discussion, I think it's a really good point, right? Because people, if you're inviting lots of different people from not your school to your seminar, or you're maybe over at someone else's school, even the same style, it's not going to be the same as what those people are already doing. And so then you have some amount of this effect no matter what you do and no matter who teaches. So it's worthwhile to know that from both sides, right? The instructor should know that too, and manage their own expectations, right? Otherwise, we couldn't get past, hey, stand here. No, nobody's standing right. Darn it. Okay, well, we're not going to go to the next move until you can stand right. I may or may not have said that in one of my normal classes in Kung Fu.
Well, and the thing here is, okay, so yes, Matt, I earned my blue belt over, not this weekend, but the weekend before. So actually, I earned it over years, and I was awarded it just recently after all the work I've done. But part of that work is, in many ways, I'm a more competent blue belt than a lot of the Brazilian blue belts because of the breadth of material that I have in my repertoire. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm the best expression of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I also know how to do all their stuff from the ground on a stand-up plane where they may not have that depth of knowledge.
Right.
And part of the rank is combat fitness and experience. So I don't, when I do my Kuntao and my Sikaran, for my belt, I may be one of, if not the most knowledgeable person for my belt in the room for my belt. That being said, I tell people I'm not the best person for expression of the art, but I can definitely teach the art. It's just that certain things I'm not going to do, and part of that could be age and injuries.
And that's another effect too. Yeah. Let's see where. Oh, Dimprenko.
Okay, you said FMA. Now what?
Yeah, as well as I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. Or is he just tagging us? Maybe he's just tagging us.
I'm really getting frustrated from the knucklehead.
Oh yeah. Oh well. Oh, you're on. Yeah, you're still on mute. Okay.
Yeah, he's overly needy tonight.
Okay.
What does he think he's me?
There you go. No one's else around. There we go. Ah, I see. He's not tagging us. He's approving. Okay, endorsing. Very good.
Hey, I want to. So, I'm proud to announce that FMA Discussion has done a very good charitable act recently. Actually, let me do this here. Hold on here. But I just son of a gun. It's being difficult.
Of course.
Let me do this. Oh. Okay. That's different. He put a whole bunch of these out there. Proven tested. Okay. So let me do this. Okay. Let me do this here. can't get it going on here. Oh, there we go. I'm going to do this. Sync now. Okay. Oh, I think he's leaving me.
Don't say his name. Did you find it?
Okay. Okay, hey, Dean, I sent you a link. I want you to make the announcement. He did something. Hey, Dean, I sent you a link. I want you to, I'd like to bring you on so you can make the announcement. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't, so this is good. I'm excited.
I made a recommendation. He was the one that made a decision. So we'll see what happens. So, with the seminars, here's the other thing. A lot of times we think we learned. We come back and we show the people what we think we learned, not necessarily what we actually learned.
Right.
And because I think, like, if I go to a karate event, and I brought, let's say I'm learning a kata. Let's say I'm bringing the kata back for my students because I want them to compete in open tournaments, and the forms that we're doing may not have enough meat on the bone to be successful. So I bring this kata back. Mm-hmm. I'm not a karateka. I'm an arnisador.
Right.
So I will bring it back what I think I saw, but maybe I made mistakes here and there. Good chance I probably did, or I do it different because of my martial DNA.
Right.
I will always defer to the source because I realize I have a tainted viewpoint. I'm looking through a different set of eyes. And it's funny, like in our art, people who
should know better don't factor that in, right?
It's crazy. Oh, here it is. Here we go. So Dean Franco.
Hey, Dean Franco.
I wanted to bring you in for a couple minutes. Because what I wanted to do is have you talk about. So Dean asked my opinion on something. I gave him a name. And so what did you recently do on FMA discussion? You did something charitable, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we raised, I think it was just over $800. Okay. And so I had a couple names to give the money to, but I wanted somebody else. So I reached out to you, and you gave me Roberto Precis. And so you hooked me up with, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, his nephew.
Oh, Plaridel.
There you go. See?
Yeah. So we sent them over. I think it was like a couple hundred or so. They seemed very grateful. Of course, we're happy to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
On the show, since we're all here, Berto Precis has been bedridden. I mean, he cannot leave without help. He is essentially deaf and blind. He's got medical needs and stuff like that. So if anyone would like to donate money, direct message me. I will put you in contact with Plaridel. Great guy. I am not going to collect the money. I know there's some people who've collected the money on behalf of a whole bunch of people and took credit for all that work. Mm-hmm. All I did was put, and when Dean and I and Plaridel were all chatting, he was thanking me. I go, I didn't do anything. I made a recommendation, and Dean felt that Roberto Precis was qualified. Awesome. He goes, I'm looking for a name. I go, well, if you don't mind me recommending, what do you think about? I'm pretty sure he needs some financial aid. We got Plaridel on we got him in the discussion group, and I said, hey, could he still use some help? Yes, there's a bunch of medical bills. That being said, it was Dean's effort, not mine.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad you did that. Thank you, Dean.
Yeah.
I tried to start that, and then we just couldn't connect on how to get money across, and then I got distracted. So I'm glad you were able to do that. Was there any weirdnesses there, or was it pretty straightforward?
No, not at all. Matter of fact, when as far as the raffles go, I'm completely transparent. So I always will one, I list the donors who's donating items to the
Nice.
raffle. I always put down, on the thread there, as far as the comment section, who purchased tickets. And then upon completion, and then when we do the raffle, I acknowledge who gave. And then, of course, when I'm showing the item or to give the verbal description of it, I'm showing who donated it. And then the conclusion is, once the raffle's done and then I tell how much raised, and then I give the, who we donated to.
Awesome.
And in this case, it was, Roberto, Nene Tortal, Catherine K. Guns here, and Yuli,
Nice. Very good. That's awesome.
Okay. And
That's
so
the FMA family taking care of itself.
And the nice thing about it is, like, really the big thanks goes to who donated the items for people to purchase tickets, and of course those who spent money. I mean, like, we had a bunch of $50 purchases, so the tickets were $5 each. So those are folks. Rich Mager, my student, great guy, bought 60 tickets, $300 worth, and won 9 lots. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, like, matter of fact, if you look at the lot, but here's the thing, everybody's saying obviously very generous of him to spend $300, 100%. But if you look at what he won between the actual physical items and the lessons, far exceeded, history on exceeded the $300 in ticket purchases. Oh, hey, Rich.
Okay, Rich said hello. Brian Canada says hi, guys. Renee says you should donate that shirt next year. Rich said good work. Bill Barker says good evening, gentlemen. So obviously it's talking about you two.
Awesome.
So for those who want to help out Roberto Prices, DM me and I will put you in direct contact with Plerdell, so you can make your donations. He'll know where it's coming from. And he didn't have to do this. Like, he sent me a photo of the receipt and the money in Berto's hand. I'm like, you didn't have to do that. I trust you, your family. Don't worry about it. But he tries to be as transparent as possible. It's about helping his uncle. So he could use more help.
Mm-hmm.
Message me. I will put you in contact, and whatever happens between you guys. Okay. But I just did Western Union. Dean, we were able to hook up PayPal.
Oh, okay.
PayPal is hard for Filipinos.
Right.
Well, I hate PayPal, but the thing is, I just like to show the transparency. So in other words, I'm receiving the ticket money through PayPal, then it exits through PayPal to the recipient. So it just, not that I'm a huge fan of it.
No, it makes it easier for you.
Nice.
All right. Well, listen, thanks for popping on.
Anytime. It's always a pleasure to share any amount of time with you guys.
Continue with our stuff. But and of course, just for the record, the three of us will be in New Hampshire the third weekend of April, teaching at the Martial Arts Symposium, and more importantly, the weekend later,
the weekend after, right?
Modern East Alliance Camp.
That's right.
Dean is our featured guest instructor for that event. Featured.
I know, and I want to give a public thank you to you. Obviously, you could have thought of numerous other people, so humbled and honored.
Yeah, they all canceled. Don't.
I was hoping you wouldn't say that.
Don't let go to your ego. Everybody canceled, and that was it.
I did send a check. I mean, jeez. All right, guys. Hey, always enjoyable. See you guys next time.
Absolutely. Take care, Dean.
See you, brother.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool. Excellent. Yeah. I'm glad that worked out. I will have to hook up with him again and see if I can, do my little bit as well.
Yeah. And listen, Renee, what's this say? When's that? You're only an hour from my place.
Oh.
I'm only an hour away. I thought you were up in TO. April 26th through 28th, they'll be in Buffalo. So that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
last weekend of the month at my school. So
Nice.
yeah. So Milton.
Back on track.
Okay, yeah, back on track. Okay.
Well, I was going to say one thing because you were talking about the idea of, you go away, you think you got what you got, and you don't. One of the things is perspective, right? You and I know when you're training with somebody and you're getting that hands-on back and forth corrections, that goes on for a long time. You just don't get it right away. So when you did a seminar, you get that for X number of hours and you're gone. So that's the thing that people forget is like, okay, yeah, you're working the material, but you don't have that feedback. So you should keep just, some finger on a touchstone of reality that says, hey, I could be doing this wrong. Yes, I can make it work. It doesn't mean it's right for the material. It might be right for me.
So there are people that would see Remy once a year.
Yes.
Maybe twice. So, I mean, actually, I would really love to do this out there to put things in scale and context. Well, I saw Remy 15 years. How many times in 15 years?
Right.
Was it when he came to your town? I mean, I stopped bringing Remy into Buffalo for a while because people took it for granted, and they weren't doing the extra work. Sure. And I'm like, you know what? It's easier for me to support a seminar than it is to help co-host an event.
Right.
So I said, the hell with this. I don't want Remy coming to Buffalo because all these guys were what they were doing. A bunch of guys were just like hanging out only when he showed up, and then maybe show up the year after.
Right.
And I was talking to Peter Kautz. He would go to the Riddle of Steel. Wait, whatever Keating's event was. And he worked it all year. He did this, then he goes, he finds out a bunch of these guys, they only showed up. They only trained the material once a year when they saw for the event. And it was more of a social event for them. But some people use like, I've been doing this for 15 years. No, you've taken 15 classes in 15 years.
Right.
So, how I got a lot of students. What does that mean? A lot of students for you, or you have a lot of students? We went to Ray Gallant's tournament and say, hey, Tim, how big is the group? I'm like, it's summer. I'm like, it's 70. 70. We're happy to have 7. So, but then again, it's my profession. So I should have more at that time, Right. I go from 80 to 90 students. Okay. Some people like 80, 90, man. I got that's how many people roll through the door on Monday.
Right.
I know schools that one of our members have 700 students in their one location. Think about it, 700 students. Ronnie McGee, a friend of ours, had a school that had 2,000 active students in one building.
Yep.
Crazy. It's all about scale. And, I know my number. Well, you and I have talked about this. Okay, so what do you think the average modern attendees practitioner saw Remy? Not the heads of the class. I mean, the people that would show up to the seminars, the seminar junkies. What do you think the average time they saw them?
The ones that call themselves seminar junkies?
Right.
The average ones of those. Okay, that's going to be a little bit higher. Average seminar junkie.
Or people who think they were.
Right. I would say at the most 3.
At the most 3. So that means in a year, you saw Professor 12 to 15 hours.
Right.
Okay, 12 to 15 hours. And that was 3 4 to 5 hour workshops.
Right. Or maybe a camp and 2 seminars if you're lucky. It could be as much as that, right? That'd be 3.
Okay. So, you might go to a camp.
That's like 20 hours, something like that.
I'll tell you the Buffalo number. Taking my school off the table, they would only see Professor when he rolled into Buffalo.
Sure. Yeah.
So that would be 1 seminar a year.
Yep.
Now, when I first started, he was in a lot.
Yeah.
But
so people that weren't calling themselves seminar junkies back in the 90s when I was doing it was people that would stay in town, right? So you might see Remy once a year.
So how much are you going to get out of seeing him 1 one day for 4 to 5 hours,
Right.
And then think you got it right.
Right. Well, first off, it's gonna be a good experience. There's never a time I saw Remy where I didn't learn something.
Never a bad time.
There is that, but how right is it? It can be good and still not right. But I mean, everybody's right. A bit different perspectives on that. I got it.
Right. No. Yeah. Well, once again, what are you practicing to do?
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's not your primary art. Who cares?
Right.
If it's not your primary art, because you have a different goal. But make sure you're not fooling yourself.
Right. I think people took that mindset back in the day because hey, it wasn't their main thing, and they were doing this extra, and it was great and everything. And then later on, they changed that. Hey, now this is something more than it was. That's just my take.
Well, that they, yeah. Well, when you haven't done things in a long time, you start, listen, when someone's gone and now you're trying to validate yourself, you put things in a different perspective.
Right. But it's funny, we all do this to yourself. I know someone, lots of people know different people. I'm thinking of one person in particular, but we all trained with Remy. We saw X, Y, and Z things. And then later on they come and say, hey, I learned this other thing from somebody else. And we're like, well, Remy showed you that years before. What are you talking about?
Remy showed you that years before.
So perspective, it's hard to stay true to an outside perspective if you're just thinking inside your own head.
Yeah. Well, and that's so. I remember attending. I attend workshops in other styles. I would go to a lot of Kempo karate camps because there was a rumor that Filipino martial artists use Kempo as a vehicle to teach their martial art. Based on some of the things I've seen, I can see where that is and that there's some validity there. So I wanted to research things. There's a lot of materials that both arts do very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Huck Palanis, who's like supposed to be the walking encyclopedia of Kempo.
Mm-hmm.
That's his thing. Yeah. And his comedy, talk about something. I go, this is what you taught me. I go, no, that's what you thought I taught you.
Right. That's a great comment.
It's a great comment. And, I think, first of all, like when we talk about things, the first thing people have to do is know how to ask a question.
Right.
People wonder, Ty was with me. We were talking to Frank Schakowsky. We had him on the show, and some people thought I was interrogating him. No, it's called an interview. And I asked questions, and he was very prepared for Dean's show, which was just a Filipino martial arts show. Ours is a modern Ernie show. So there's going to be more specific questions I'm going to ask. And I asked them, and didn't quite go well. I think he just thought I caught him off guard, Mm-hmm. And to be fair, I don't send a list of questions, and I probably should have.
Actually, started after that, right? Or
after that show, we wrote a list of questions,
right?
And we don't do that anymore.
Well,
so usually I talk to people on the phone and stuff. I'm like, hey, I'm going to ask you about this, that, and the other thing. You got something you want to promote? Blah blah blah. Do stuff like that. So then we're at his school. We did the triple threat seminar, and I was asking questions, and he once again thought we were going down a path where I was interrogating. I'm like, listen, I'm going to give you advice to something, but I need all the information. And a lot of times people they think they give people enough information, but they don't. Or they give the wrong information, thinking that I wanted one thing when I wanted something other. Having come up in the automotive industry, one digit could ruin a car engine being wrong.
Right.
Okay. There was no such thing as close. It had to be right because you're doing parts. In you've done what's one of your studies? What's your degree in again?
Nuclear chemistry.
Yeah, you can't be close on that, can you?
No, yeah, you will. Oh, let's say it the nice way. You won't get any data.
Yeah, okay. You need to be precise. So I'm precise. And it's funny, like, so Renee, who's on, hosted Arlen Sanford, Salty Dog. And Craig and I were up there, and he was doing Krabi Krabong. So there's the Thai swords. And the funny thing, material-wise, it was exactly the same thing we did in our niece, just a 3-foot blade, or a 3-foot sword. But what was different was the attitude. And like, this is a whole new look. And some of the stuff they were doing, like, hey, I already do this. But while the mindset was really, really different.
Right.
And Arlen would go around the room, come to Craig and I, we'd ask a question. He'd teach a new piece of material, come around the room, get to Craig and I, we'd talk about more. And it's like, I don't want to say he was reporting into us, but he also knew that we were probably some of them, besides the host. Well, in addition to the host, the 2 other most knowledgeable people in martial arts in the room. And I asked questions, and like, I've never been asked that question. I go, okay, so I'm Datu Tim, and I'm Datu Tim, one of the heirs of the art. I didn't say it this way. I was like, how often do you get people who are at my status at your seminars? Well, I don't. That's why I'm a professional martial artist. I'm thinking about how I teach this to my students. So I'm going to ask you questions that most likely no one else is going to ask you. Mr. Arnold.
Hey, Jason.
I got to talk to you. Bobby Tabuado. Okay, everybody, Bobby Tabuado will be in Toronto on June 1st. And Jason, that's what I have to talk to you about. There's some things. There's a couple options that we need to talk about. Just give me a call either later tonight or later in the week if you're free. Let me know, and then we'll set up a time, because I've got some details on that event that you might be interested in. Let me see here. What's this? That's not true. Ty, you get a big bada boom.
I'm not sure what that's for, but I'm sure that was back a while back.
Okay. All right.
But so we've all been teaching seminars, right? And we've shown people some things, and they say, oh, that's just like this. And in their eyes, it is. But when you look at it, you're like, no, that's not what I showed you at all. And because we're looking for different things of the similar movements.
So in Balintawak, we do a thing called a tokas. We open this up.
Yep.
It's not the same as an umbrella block, but I relate it to an umbrella block because the opening portion is similar, but it's on another plane.
Right.
For those who aren't familiar, it's like a gunting. You go open, or you close the gunting and you open the scissor. Okay. So it's the opening portion. So when I teach it, I say, hey, look, y'all know how to do an umbrella block? Okay, give me an umbrella block. Okay. We don't do umbrella block in Balintawak. But let's take that opening movement and let's massage it a little. And I have some people, well, that's not the thing. I'm like, dude, if they can relate to it, that's fine. Right. Just like we were talking about 4-count Sinwali. It is double Sinwali with 1 extra beat. So we insert it in something in the middle. But when you look at it, some people say, oh, look, you're putting single Sinwali in the front end and double in the back end. No, I'm putting 1 beat in. But you know what? If that's what they see, and they can get the pattern down, I don't argue.
Right.
I tell people, listen, I look at 1 or 2 ways. You're either doing single in the front and double in the back, or you're doing double with 1 extra beat.
Right.
And when I show it, people say exactly, they see why I call it that way, but I go, but you know what? If I think single Sinwali works better for me, more power to you, brother. Whatever you got to do.
Yep.
But
so sometimes those training tools that we give people, right, are plant some of those bad seeds actually. Right, because then they keep associating it to that, but it gets them started. But without that continual feedback and that adjustment, right, you may not get to that next good part of the lesson.
Well, and go back to what I talked about, Ingmar and the sibling and all this other stuff. That was a great lesson for Ingmar, not only on the material that I learned, but he also started to realize that the rules of Kempo don't always apply to all martial arts, although many of them do. But now that there's a weapon, things change a little bit. And as Jason says, everything's 5 swords. And remember, restomp the groin.
Always
restomp the groin. Everybody. So,
well, and some of things, I don't know what we're going to do from the other side too. Well, we talked about good things and things you should know and why we want to do it, what to watch out for, where expectations are. Is there any other negatives? And also I forget where we were supposed to get to from the other side as a person who's doing the seminars.
yes. So
Okay. All right.
I think as an instructor, so we dialed in a whole bunch of things here. Here's a big one here. And not everyone's a good seminar instructor. Not everyone has the experience that some of us have. So we figured, we did math and figured I've done over 1,000 seminars in my career. Okay. I've attended probably just as many, if not more.
Right.
And then I've hosted, I don't know if I've hosted 1,000 seminars, but I've hosted multiple seminars a year for 4 decades. So I've got experience on all 3 sides, and the things you have to realize, and the more experience you get in this, you'll realize that you have to prioritize what you're going to teach.
Yep.
And you need to tell people, hey, listen, I'm not going to focus on the legs right now. I mentioned this earlier, but I didn't get into it. Right. Okay, we don't have a lot of room. Now think about this. Filipino martial arts is rough because you got 3-foot arms at a bare minimum and 2-foot sticks. So actually probably a little more. And then you get people who are even taller, like Talis, or you get people damn near 7 foot tall swinging those wings around.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you get a small space with a lot of people and you cannot do the footwork that you would do, or you're doing a specific thing of like tappy. Like we're going to talk about footwork at camp this year. I want to get away from doing tappy. Okay. I love doing tappy and the balint walk and stuff like that. But the thing here is some of the drills get you so dialed in and not doing footwork, you forget to do footwork.
Right.
And Professor put so much time in the short range because it's the hardest range. Mm-hmm. Long range is so much easier. I mean, it's not easy.
Right.
Well, no, long range is easier to practice than short range, in my opinion, because there's a confidence issue that works against you at the short range.
Right. Well, and the circles are bigger, right? There's a reason people learn with big circles on first. Big movements are easier to manage and see and train and adapt and adjust. So, yeah. Yep. So I haven't taught as many seminars, Tim, but I just looked at my own, and it's in the last 11 years, I've taught 123 seminars or camps, and that's not counting the videos, and I've already done 60 or so videos.
No. How many classes have you taught for your profession? That's the same thing.
Yes, right. Okay. For my profession.
For your so
right.
I don't care what you taught seminars in.
Right.
I care the quantity of seminar instruction you've done, because to be honest with you, you probably learned more from doing that. You have all that experience. So a lot of people, if they're not used to being in front of people, okay. So you just did martial arts seminars. What other presentations have you done?
Right.
So,
right.
If you are in the business world and you do a lot of presentations, successful ones, you'd probably be a natural teaching martial arts, right? Because you're in front of people, engagement, and the other thing too is it's rough because a lot of people who have the material aren't necessarily good at seminars, So if you're attending an event, you have to sometimes be better learning than the person teaching.
Right. Well, and like you said, you learn a lot from teaching stuff. I started teaching with the clubs first, and then I had to teach in universities, and I taught at universities for years, not martial arts, right, in front of people doing the subject matter. But both of those things reinforced each other, right? So then you're more confident and can connect to people better, right? Every time you teach and you care and you're paying attention, that goes into your job jar of getting better at doing that job. Right.
And Rob says, and damn, by that logic, I've done thousands. Yeah, but you should be better than you are for that.
Well, regular courses, so I wasn't talking about regular courses, and I know you weren't, right? So we both have our classes since,
Yeah.
decades now, right? And I know Rob has as well. So that's what he's talking about. Got it.
Yeah. Like how many seminars have you taught? How many classes have you taught?
Right.
When I worked for Advanced Auto Parts, I was a shift manager. So I'd be teaching the ordering systems and the computer systems on a regular. Rob goes, that hurts.
That hurts. Rob's going to be there at camp, right? You're going to be there at camp, right, Rob?
Okay. So his back's been jacked up.
Okay. We'll drop by if nothing else. I'd love to see you.
Yeah. So, so when you're teaching, you need to understand things and point out to people, hey, listen, I'm not going to move around a lot because we don't have a lot of room. But here, everyone back up for a minute. This is the footwork I would use. So you put it in their brain, you talk to them about it, you make them realize there's more what's going on.
Right.
Or more importantly, say, hey, listen, I'm just going to do the surface level of this technique. There's a lot more deep down we can get into this.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the words make you better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you mean? Like, well, explaining why we do so. I never thought of it. Oh, wow, here.
Right.
Well, it changes my intent completely.
Yep. Or it could be as simple as something like, I have some weird power generation that I do. I know it comes out. So I say, hey, don't pay attention to this piece. I'm trying to teach you that piece. And it keeps you from getting distracted maybe from all the details, right? People are trying to learn everything they can do.
Yep. Question can derail you when teaching, but stay on track. I go down the rabbit hole a lot.
Right.
It's always good to have a note to remind yourself what you're actually working on in case you go down the rabbit hole. Or
maybe you have free reign and you want to go there and it actually teaches another fun lesson you wanted to do and fits in the pattern. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So inevitably, a lot of times people ask me questions about history, which ends up becoming maybe a political conversation. Like, who are the successors? Who are the real successors? I'm like, well, let's talk about that after this. Let me get back on this, and I'll say, all right, well, people can say whatever they want, but I know what the will said.
Right.
What if questions? Yeah. What if questions? Actually, I'll tell you what, here's how I deal with what if questions. You can't handle the truth. I was going, hey, listen, when I'm teaching a seminar, so if you're teaching this, first thing I do is say, listen, I have a path. There's a method to the madness. Do it as close to what I'm teaching today as possible.
Mm-hmm.
If you got some questions, I'll go over it. But remember, like if we're going to go, what if the person does this? What if the person does that? There might be other support material that you would need to learn.
Right.
So let's go down this path now. And then we expand about it later. And then when you go home, tear it apart. Take if you're going to do the system, then you're going to do it my way.
Right.
You're going to learn it my way. Yep. But then when you test so there's a difference between the system and style. System is the methodology that every student should be able to pass on to the next generation. Mm-hmm. Style is your swagger. How you do. Okay, I'm more of a kicker. I'm more of a puncher. I like doing knees and elbows. I like entering to locks and controls. Okay, but that's all the same martial system. Like we talk about modern East, I just named multiple aspects of modern East.
Mm-hmm.
We punch, we kick, we knee, we elbow, we lock, we throw, we weapon disarm. We all these different things going on there. All right. And some people say, like, okay, I'm the double stick guy. I am the single stick guy. I'm the knife guy. I am the wait a minute, I'm talking about me again. Okay. I'm talking about how people are talking about who I was when I just said I was the modern East guy. Just leave it at that. I get a fidget at trampoline park, and I could do. Okay. I don't know. So I think what we have to do is you, as the instructor of these things, you need to paint the story. You need to set the tone of what's going on and set realistic expectations and make sure there's open communication between you and the participants so they understand what they have and what they don't have. Like, hey, listen, I'm only teaching a part of it. This is the surface level. There's a whole nother phase to this, or there's a whole multiple phases to this. Hey, okay, so here's a good one. If you watch Professor do the disarms, you watch him do the 12 disarms. Are those the disarms where they're supposed to be verbatim? The answer to that is no. Mm-hmm. If you ever watched him, not watch his teaching, but watch him go, you'll see that he'll do one disarm off of multiple angles of attack.
Mhm.
But when it came to teaching for memorization, every disarm had an anchoring point, an angle of attack that they were associated with, even if that wasn't the best angle of attack to do the disarm off of. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I will say this. It was real quick. I wasn't tested in that day. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is constantly looking at you, and out of the blue, they do promotions. So I've been working with Professor Desano for over a decade, if I'm not mistaken. I've been teaching him Arnis, and he's been teaching me Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, we went through a whole bunch of stuff. And then finally, he actually promoted Primo to his brown belt. And I thought to myself, it'd be really cool. Primo, who I got in contact with, was my Arnis student who I got hooked up into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Mhm.
It would be really cool if he and I got promoted together. That's not going to happen. I'm going to work about hosting the event. What happened? We got promoted together.
Nice.
So I got to see Primo get his brown. I got my blue. And, La Familia, yeah. This is a little off topic. Here we go. Do they sell crispers in Buffalo?
What's a crisper?
If they don't, are they all dressed as just that are delicious?
I have no idea what that is.
They try. Okay. If they do, try the all dressed.
They are delicious. CRISPR. To me, CRISPR is a gene editing technology.
So I just had Craig here for the weekend.
Right.
And it's funny, the comments, the differences that we talk about the same thing, even though it's the same language. Well, it's sort of. It's Canadian English.
Right.
Actually, it's funny. So you have English. Then you have the Canadian English, you have the Australian English, and then there's us. I don't know where the Aussies fit in the mix, but there's the British English, there's the Canadian English, and then there's our English. And I think that's a fair translation back and forth, how they're just similar enough, but different. But they're talking about French fries. It could be. So, but they also talk about poutine, which is just fries with gravy and curds, which actually is pretty good, I gotta say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the nice thing, like when Ty and I teach seminars, and we're in the same room together, we're constantly critiquing each other. Well, it's like, hey, what did no, because I'll sit there going, Ty, what do you think? How do you think that one went?
Right.
I mean, and when I taught in England, Renee sent me something. This could be bad.
Uh-oh.
Let me look. Oh. Okay. It is kind of like a cracker, but different.
Okay.
Baked snack. I don't know if they sell it there.
Baked snack.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they sell them here.
I think he just volunteered to bring us some.
May have. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think, like Ty and I are constantly critiquing each other. We're asking for critique.
Evaluating, yeah.
When I was in England, I recently see you in April. Oh, great.
Oh, awesome.
You know what? That'll be awesome, Renee. We'd love to have you.
Would be great. Excellent.
So, I taught at this Kempo event, and people asked me afterwards who didn't attend, but knew me and been to seminars. They're like, "Well, how'd it go?" I'm like, "Well, of course it went well, and I mean, it went great." And I'm like, "But before I said, I go, now listen, this is my profession, so I should be one of, if not the best person teaching in the room because it's my profession." And I really, everything lined up. Like the last time I taught there, things didn't line up properly as far as scheduling and all this other stuff. Things went sideways, and some things really kind of got in the way and distracted things. I did a good job, but I didn't get to see everybody. It's just a long stuff, So this time, everything. I mean, I was the opening act of the day. and it went right into other something, and it was just like all hands were on deck, and right from the get-go, it was everything was right, and it made up for that first trip. And so but I mean, my mindset is I go with the mindset that my seminars have to be good, and if they're not, what the hell did I do wrong to do it? Now, I've had some seminars that weren't as good as others, but I've been doing this too long, so I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, I got to be a rock star every time. I don't phone it in. And sometimes it's like I really got to push because I'm not feeling well, I didn't sleep well, I might have a migraine and stuff like that. And like, how do I push through to get this thing going?
Right.
So but as an instructor, we need to know that they're not going to get it. We also have to prepare them for success and how to deal with failure. Like, hey, listen, you're missing this, this, and this. We're just doing this. I'm not telling you how to get there. I'm not doing the footwork. I'm not doing this. And so, and I would also say, hey, listen, be prepared. We'll follow up on this in a future one.
Right.
In the meantime, I might even sit there and say, if you have any questions in footwork, fill it in with what you know, and I'll show you my strategy in footwork later, what or the proper footwork is in doing it in the FMA way versus adapting to what you're doing.
Right. I think that's a good point, because the other part of that is I was going to say is giving them a way forward, right? So if you're teaching something in material and you leave it hanging, right, what are they supposed to do with that? How are they supposed to work it in the future? And so there's some hooks that you can plant, and that would be one of them for them to keep up with the material and do their part for the future, and that will only help them. But that you got to do that to help them get started on that. I think you owe it to them.
Yeah. So, but that's pretty much everything I got. I mean, what else do you have in there? I think we kind of covered everything.
I think so. Well, actually, I mean, there's other strategies. Like if we could get a whole lot into more detail on how you do seminars. I think there's other strategies depending on, hey, if it's a multi-style thing, or if it's combined,
right,
multiple things happening at once thing, or if it's a camp versus a seminar, right? Yeah. There's a whole sorts of different things.
Yeah. And we could talk, once again, we've talked about before, how to own the floor and all this other stuff. Sure. But my intent, and so for those who haven't heard this, my intent for this is to show, when I say the pros and cons of this, because a lot of people, beware of what you learn or what you thought you learned.
Sure.
Beware of perceiving you've got it right, and make sure you understand whether you're doing it right or you're doing it your way, which may not be a bad way, but may not be the right way.
Right.
Getting the job done is one thing.
Right. We didn't touch upon demonstration seminars, yes, where people are just showing off and doing stuff. I mean, you can make it like an exhibition, right? That could be a seminar in a good way, or it could be it's all about you show and just showing off, and that's probably the bad way of seminar. But know what you're getting, know what you're giving, and make sure everybody's on the same page with that, and then maybe it's okay.
So I've gone to the gathering, and the first time I was out, it was the first East Coast FMA guy to teach there, to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. May have been the first non-Filipino to teach FMA there officially, or at least, and I got all the Stockton boys up against the wall.
Right.
And I'm watching the guy who's teaching, and I'm like, and Tony DeSaro's there, and he's like, hey, you got 3 minutes left. And the guy looks at him like, you had 20 minutes.
Right.
You demonstrated 17 of it.
Yep.
What are you looking at me for? Here's the clock. Oh shit, that is. I'm like, and all he did was demo.
Yep.
And it's like, get into it, get her done. Okay, listen, it's cool to show how good you are, to inspire people.
Yeah.
But professor would have multiple gears of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So he would demonstrate it hard and fast, and then he would teach it nice and slow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny too. I get this because I do it the other way. I go slow and then I go fast. And we were I was with Frank Vigoro. We were down in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always about using women and kids in the seminar, in the demonstration for partners, because I want to empower people doing. It's a male dominated thing. It's an adult male, and you have women and children that a lot of times are ignored or forced out in a culture like that. Hey, Danny, in a South American culture, in a Spanish culture, there might be a little too much machismo there, and the women may not feel comfortable. Definitely the kids, So I have this teenager. I'm using her as just having her feed, because the thing here is I'm there. No one can do drills with me, so it's all about disarming and striking style, stuff like that. So all of a sudden I start busting out. I'm like, okay, they come at me, pop, and I'm disarming, and then I'm actually knocking the stick, and I disarm the stick, it bounces off the ground, and I'm hitting it again while it's in the air and doing all this other stuff, and blah 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 blah. And Figaro comes up to me and goes, I was just about to say, could you do it fast? Because Kempo's always about doing it fast. And I'm like, oh my God, brother, you had the right timing. Oh my God, you're really good at this, because it's like, know when to go fast and know when to go slow. Right. And a lot of people don't know how to shift gears. And, so know what you're doing. And listen, listen, this is my profession. So it's always about me. It's about how I can pay the bills for my family. Sure. But, part of that is knowing that it's all about the participants, because they are paying for a service. And it is not lack of customer loyalty if you are not giving them a service. They're not going to pay you to teach, or even if it's done for free. Ty, you don't charge, do you?
No, usually, no.
Okay. So there are some exceptions.
There are some, yes.
If you're a real pain in the ass, I'll charge you triple.
Well, it's not like that, but maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing here is, if you don't, if they don't think what you offer is worth their time, they're not going to come.
Right.
Because whether they're paying you or sacrificing time away from their families, they're making an investment.
Yep.
So, and everyone say, oh, this is loyalty. Lack of loyalty. Loyalty has to be earned. It's a two-way street. And I had an acquaintance of mine who lost his school. And the reason why he had two daughters that had needs, I don't want to say special needs, because they weren't special needs, but they had some birth defects that there was corrective surgery, got through all this stuff. But it was a regular basis that they had to cancel classes due to an emergency with the kids, because where they were more accident prone due to the condition they had until it was corrected. So they're constantly crashing in the walls, getting cuts, doing stitches, going to the hospital, and they'd have to cancel classes on a regular basis. And as much as the people liked it and as the family, they were paying for a service, they didn't get it, and they quit. Because at the end of the day, I don't care what your intent is. If I'm paying for a service, you should be there.
Yep.
And as Danny said, the old saying, undervalue, over deliver.
Yep.
Or under promise, over deliver. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we kind of nailed it. I think we got everything. Do you feel we got everything?
I think so. There was that thing, but I already mentioned that. Okay.
No, we can you know what? And I'm looking at some of the old episodes. I would love to revisit some of the old episodes just to see how we've evolved, and maybe our perceptions have changed.
Maybe. Yeah.
We talk about I did some episodes that are me. It was Datu's Corner before you joined up. Talk about there's a whole bunch of things. So we can get into these topics. What I'd like to address next week, I want to hear your feedback. I want to maybe talk about social media and how we utilize that strategy, because I've seen a very good trend that more people in Modern East are using social media. I want to talk about it, but I've also made some comments about where I think there's some shortcomings, and then people said, well, I talked about video production, production value, and they're like, well, that just hides stuff. And I'm like, not in a way to hide anything.
Right.
Better lighting, better microphones, better cameras, stuff like that. Not, but I want to talk about it. And there's a couple things that are like, hey, listen, this is really good because the more exposure of modernese,
Yep.
the better for modern. More positive exposure,
Yep.
the better for all of us. Rising tide, all ships, baby.
Yep.
But
Definitely.
how
No,
do you
that
feel
is.
about that for next week?
No, that would be good. And if I actually, so I've been sort of out of the loop here on a few things, but if that's trend has been stepping up, then yeah, absolutely. I think I would also want that to continue more and even get better, right? Because maybe even if someone's starting out, right, you hopefully your production is going to get better because you want it to be consumable, right? It doesn't have any legs if it's not
Right.
usable and consumable and readily used and taken advantage of, right? If they have to work to see what's going on, or maybe I figure things out because you didn't show everything, that's not a good thing. And you may have some good stuff, and you're probably teaching it well. So it would it only serves, it's constructive criticism, I think, particularly since, as you said, it's the whole idea of everybody in Modern East and stuff we're talking about getting out there and sharing more. That is only good for everybody. Lots of good stuff out there.
Okay. So
Eric says, speaking of seminars, West Coast tour. I think he wants to host you.
we actually talked about that.
Right,
so Eric,
sorry to throw you under the bus, Eric.
A lot of things going on. Let me work
Awesome.
some stuff out. So, in closing, starting next week, keep your eyes open. So
Nice.
I signed with a new social media company, and we talked about some stuff, and they gave me 50 things, and we filmed probably 45 things today.
Wow. Okay.
A lot of shorts.
Okay.
So there's going to be a whole bunch of TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube shorts, reels, and whatever they call them on every platform.
But it's not you in shorts.
No, I'm not in shorts.
All
I'm
right,
just
good.
in a shorts.
All right, good.
Yeah. My legs are way too white for that. So there's a whole bunch of things happening. And to just give you, let me read you some of the topics. Just so you know. Now, I'm passionate about a bunch of things. I'll be the first to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't, let me see. 3 fighting drills you need to be doing. What is a Sinwali? The Heaven 6 combo that will take your double stick fighting to the next level.
Okay.
Why is modern Arnis the best martial art?
Right.
3 essential double stick drills. One of my favorite Filipino martial art weapons, tool, the karambit. Which, if anyone knows me, knows how I feel about the karambit.
Right.
Try this brutal hand-to-hand combat technique, brutal and screamer combinations.
Those are very clickbait sounding, but I mean, they sound like the normal good marketing that does it. The reason why does that come out? Because it actually works. So I get it.
My favorite stick warm-up.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you a couple of the. Okay, so why is a bow staff so deadly? We talked about my feelings about bow staves.
Right.
We also said get the F out, which that's talked about once again.
Right.
So
speaking of social media, you see who just popped in recently? Paolo Rubio, our friend, dropped in and said, "Hey,
these are great topics.
Thank you, Paolo.
Thank you. Always doing well. So here's another one. So for how to use Filipino martial arts against a boxer, I used that. He goes, who would win, a Filipino martial artist or someone doing Krav Maga? I answered that.
The 3 best moves you don't yet know. How's that?
There was something like that. Actually,
right.
my 3 favorite takedowns in Filipino martial arts / modern East. Here's the
Forgotten Secrets of the Masters.
Okay, here we go. Here's the last one. The last one. Why Filipino martial arts is better than BJJ.
There you go.
That actually
that's probably already got views and you haven't released it yet.
That actually was my favorite.
Okay.
I really embraced it. We had fun with it.
Nice.
And I'm just
You could go Master Ken with that too easily, though.
and I did.
Okay.
I the deadliest move.
You didn't already know.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So we it was it was. And then I'm like, he's like, after I get done, he goes, no, you need to redo that. Why was I too mean? No. Like, oh, I'm too nice. Yeah. Think about that. I was being too nice.
Okay.
So,
All right. All right.
so they want engagements. They talk. I mean, listen, this is a serious company. I made a very interesting investment, and I got a 4-month gig with them, and we'll see how things go.
Okay.
We'll talk about it afterwards. So,
Cool.
the deadliest move you ever already
You
knew.
didn't know you already knew.
Didn't know you already know. Maybe
The 5 moves you forgot that you shouldn't have.
Oh, well, they even said, like, show me the 5 strikes of Philippine martial arts. I go, screw that. I'll do it in 4. So it was like, name that tune.
Right.
And I showed them. And I talked about the new 12 angles of attack and stuff like that. So we'll see how things go. So, yeah. So
Everything is just 5 swords. There you go.
everything is just 5 swords. So everything's simple. So, all right. So listen, everyone, as always, care and feeding your screams.
That sounds more like a documentary. Yeah, probably will
There we go.
work for these guys.
So next week we're going to talk about social media, specifically using Modern East as the platform, and how it's been growing. We're going to make some recommendations because Ty and I have been doing a lot of social media over the years. Some free platforms out there to help take you to the next level. Keys that we find, a big one: lighting, and lighting.
And a good microphone, please.
Oh yeah, shotgun mics more than enough. You don't necessarily need but that's what next week's topic is. I'm going to talk about the pros. I'm also going to talk about a con out there. I'm not going to about it's time to start doing things on your own, not off the backs of others. But we'll talk about that next week. There's the clickbaity thing. So listen, happy Easter, everyone, for those who celebrate.
Yes.
So the weekend of the 6th is nothing's going on to my knowledge. The weekend of the 13th, our good friend Grandmaster Carlos Patalinghug is hosting his friendship tournament, padded and live stick tournament with forms and all this other stuff.
Yep.
PG Ty and I will both be there for one extent or another. Oh shit, I'm competing. What the hell? I'm telling you all right now.
I'll be judging.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that like live stick, there's 57 and over.
Mm-hmm.
Padded stick and forms, it's 18 and over.
18 and over. All right, good.
But right. They do have the weight category of 195 and over. So I think some of my size I can move okay with. So learn one thing in a seminar, it paid for the listen, here's the one thing you gotta remember for the seminar. If you learn one thing, you have it for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Okay. I'm greedy. I want to learn a bunch of things. But the fact of the matter here is, it was Mark Klein actually said, we were at the Massachusetts summer camp. He goes, you know what, Tim? I'm happy if I only come out with one thing. And one thing. I'm like, yep. Because I got it the rest of my life. I'm like, yep. Damn, you're smart. But it's true. But like I said, I'm a greedy bastard. Thank you for stay safe. Thank you. Wonderful weekend, y'all. Yep. Okay. So the weekend of the 13th is the tournament.
Yep.
The weekend after and that weekend, Mark Cardona is hosting the Saratoga Martial Art Festival.
Yes.
The third weekend of the month is Terry Dow's the 20th. It's his 20th anniversary in Water Valley,
New Hampshire.
Something, New Hampshire.
Oh, Lodge, New Hampshire. Something like that. I can't remember what it's
Something like that. And then the last weekend is the World Modern East Alliance training camp. And PG Ty and Dean Franco and others will be there teaching. So, listen, as always, everybody. Or do you have anything you want to throw in there before I?
No, I've got nothing. Yep.
All right. We got nothing. Hey, listen, always a pleasure. I love being here with my brother. As always, everybody, please stay safe and stay sane. This is Datu Tim.
PG Ty. Everyone take care.
See you soon.